Today's highway speeds call for a higher degree of safety. In places where there is a high potential for crossover collisions to occur, cable barriers have proven effective in saving lives. Locations in Texas that have installed cable median barriers have experienced a 97% reduction in fatal cross-median crashes. Cable median barriers save lives, but only when they work properly. As a first responder, how you extricate a vehicle from the barrier can make a difference in how quickly the barrier can be returned to service, saving lives. Remember, it is always good practice to have a quick tailgate meeting so everyone knows their role and is safe in the field. Consider this scenario. You arrive on the scene. A school bus has left the roadway and crashed into a cable median barrier. The bus is tangled in the cables, making it difficult to work around the site. Your first thought is to cut the cables and get them out of the way. But stop. That cable can whip around and hurt you and others. There are safer ways to take the tension off the cables without endangering first responders or accident victims. Call emergency services to remove and care for any injured motorist. Ask for a tow truck to be on the scene if necessary. Also, notify your maintenance supervisor to the location of the damaged cable barrier. Your first option is always pull the vehicle back to the center line of the median barrier. This can help decrease the amount of tension in the cables. Not pulling the vehicle back to the center line can make any other steps you might take more hazardous. This one procedure might allow you to untangle the cables from the vehicle. Option 2 is to remove the post. If there is enough slack in the cables, you can pull the post out of their sockets. If the cables are under extreme tension, use extra caution. Secure the post with a chain or restraining device during removal. If pulling the vehicle back to the center line or removing a post isn't possible, move to the third option. 3 of the 4 cable median systems used in Texas have an anchor point that safely releases cable tension. The front or rear bumper of the vehicle can release the cables at the anchor point as shown here. You can access 2 of the other cable barrier systems at the anchor point. Decrease tension by loosening but not removing the nuts. Then pop the cables loose with a pry bar. Be sure no one is standing near the anchor point when the cables are released. In many cases, the anchor point won't be too far from the site of the crash. Besides being the safest way to release tension, it's also the easiest for maintenance crews to repair. The barrier can be back in service quickly, saving more lives. If there isn't time to locate an anchor point, walk the undamaged portion of the cable barrier until a turnbuckle is located. Make sure there are at least 5 undamaged cable support poles between the crash site and the turnbuckle. Be certain there is no one standing near the cable before you cut it. Notify all responders and have them retreat to safety, away from the crash site and the turnbuckle. There is a possibility of cable whip, which can be very dangerous. Cut through the center of the turnbuckle for each cable as shown here. This method is also easy for maintenance crews to repair. Your last resort should be cutting the cables. If there are no turnbuckles nearby and time is of the essence, you can cut through the cables. It is recommended that duct tape be wrapped around the cables. Cut through the center between the tape. As with cutting turnbuckles, there is a possibility of cable whip. Make sure there are at least 5 undamaged cable support poles between the crash site and the cut point. Make sure that no one is standing near the cables when they're cut. Again, cutting the cables is the least desirable choice. It is more time-consuming to repair, which means the entire length of a cable barrier will not perform its life-saving function until extensive repairs are made. When cable has been damaged in a curved section, always inspect the cable from outside of the curve radius. During your inspection, confirm there are no frayed cables, loose post, or loose connections to the post. Then you can move to the inside radius of the tension zone. Follow the same procedures outlined previously in the event of an emergency. Stand on the outside of the curve radius if a post must be removed or if a turnbuckle or cable must be cut. Be sure there are no vehicle occupants or emergency responders in the tension zone. Cable median barriers can be safely managed in a hurry if you remember these options. Pull the vehicle back to the center line. Remove the post from the ground socket. Trip the cable anchor point with a vehicle bumper. Cut through a turnbuckle 5 undamaged posts from the vehicle. And the least desirable option to cut the cable itself. Wrap it in duct tape and cut it 5 undamaged posts from the vehicle. In 3 out of 4 cases, a vehicle strikes the barrier and drives off. Someone has to see that damage has occurred since it won't be reported any other way. In order to keep fatal crossover collisions from occurring, the cable barriers need routine inspection and maintenance. To ensure visibility of the cable barrier system, make sure that grass is being mowed. Make sure that proper reflectors are on the poles and on the cable anchor points. Check for erosion, particularly at the terminal anchor points. If any movement of the anchors can be detected, proper operation of the system is compromised. Look for any cables that are sagging. Pay particular attention to the condition of the cables. If you detect 2 or more damaged wires within the ropes or any kinks, the cables should be replaced. Getting a cable median barrier repaired quickly is important. Inform your maintenance supervisor the location of any damaged cable median barriers. Remember, as long as it's damaged, it may not perform its life-saving functions for the motorist of Texas.